What's up? In today's video, I want to show you a technique that I think is super important for playing rock guitar, and I'm going to call it percussive single note strumming. It is something that you really need to know how to do in order to have great rock guitar playing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the idea behind this, you might have just heard in my little intro there, is that we're gonna actually be playing some single notes like we normally do, one note at a time. Like here would be an A minor pentatonic scale. Except we're gonna put a little bit more oomph on the notes and make it sound more like this. So how do we do this? This is going to be really simple, but it's kind of tricky to get down at first if you've never done it. And I'm going to give you a couple of cool riffs that you can learn that are famous so that you can practice this technique. The crux behind this technique is that we're going to be playing one note and we only want to really hear one note at a time. However, we want to actually strum multiple strings at a time. So we actually don't have to be very precise with our pick in order to do this, which is one of the benefits of using this technique as well. So like, let's say for example, I want to play this note that's on the 5th fret of the 5th string. This is the D note here. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to deliberately take my first finger and I'm going to sort of break the rules of what we're traditionally taught, which is get right up on your fingertips. No, we wanna actually kind of flatten our fingers in order to do this. So I'm gonna flatten my finger so that I can press that note down and I can hear it clearly. But if you look very carefully at my finger, the top of my finger is actually touching the 6th string. And underneath here, you can't really see it, but my finger is also touching the 4th string, and it's pretty flat, and it's even touching the rest of these strings. Most of the time when you're doing this, you need to focus mostly on touching the strings that are directly above and below the string that you really want to play. So now, if I actually strum the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings, I'm going to hear this. So now you hear only this one note, but you hear these muted strings right next to it. And it makes it sound really powerful and sort of meatier than a normal note. If I just hit that one note, a lot of times that doesn't really cut it for sounding powerful when I want to play a rock riff or a rock solo. So what I want you to do is just practice at first. If you've never done this before, just try doing that. Play that one note and get used to just doing some downstrokes. Now, one thing I want you to be careful of that I see a lot of people doing is strumming all the strings. Don't strum all the strings. It's kind of like in between a single note strum, or a single note pick rather, and a full-blown like chord strum. We're really only going to be hitting 2 to 3 strings maximum, okay? So get used to doing this both with down and up strokes. So something like this. That is going to start getting the job done for you, okay? So now, to take this a little bit to the next level, we're going to learn how to play through an entire pentatonic scale with this technique. So we're going to go through the whole entire A minor pentatonic scale. You should definitely know your A minor pentatonic scale by now if you're practicing this. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort of evaluate how do we do this with different fingers, because right now I just did it with only my first finger, and it's pretty simple when I'm just doing it with one finger. By the way, side note, I mean, you can come up with lots of cool riffs just with one note. Right? If you get really rhythmic with it, playing with a metronome, and on top of that, actually just stop pressing and get some totally muted strums in there. I mean, you can be off to the races with some really cool stuff right away. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the 6th string now, run through the A minor pentatonic scale. So now the good thing about whenever we do this technique on the 6th string is that we don't have to worry about muting anything that's below, or, you know, above in this case, that string, because there's no more strings. So now all I need to do is kind of flatten out my finger so that I can mute whatever strings are above it. And of course, also, if I hit it with an upstroke, I also don't hear any of those open strings. We want to try to eliminate the open strings as much as possible, okay? However, if you're starting to go real crazy with this, like if you listen to Jimmy Page sometimes, he would actually play solo runs. And, you know, every now and then you hear an open string creep through and all this stuff. That's okay. Actually, the cool thing about this technique is that it kind of makes you sound a bit dirty and gritty, right? So, you know, don't worry about making it into like an absolute exact science, but we do want to try to make sure that all those strings are muted, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go from here, and now we're going to do the same thing with the pinky. Now, how does this work when I'm playing with the pinky? Well, the main thing that's still muting is actually my first finger. Okay, so my pinky's kind of flat, mainly because it's really hard to keep this finger flat and then get this finger, the pinky, like super curved and all this stuff. Even for me, I've been playing for a long time. That's super hard. Don't worry about it though, because now we're kind of getting like double muting going on. That pinky is actually, even if I took this finger off, it's kind of muting those strings that are above it. But really the idea, if I'm playing through a pentatonic scale, is that this finger is always going to be behind any of these other fingers muted. So it's mainly the first finger that's doing the muting, guys, okay? So, and let's go ahead and hit that with an upstroke. So we want to practice alternate picking through this. So now we're going to go to the next string. So that's the first note I showed you. And then we're going to do the same thing. Now we're going to go the ring finger on the 7th fret. So now again, actually my ring finger here is more curved than like my pinky was. Like if I took my first finger off here, like there's not really too much muting going on, but I'm leaving this first finger down and that's helping me do the muting. I've noticed a lot of people too have kind of trouble with this idea of holding that finger down while they play something with the ring finger or another finger. So this is a good opportunity to practice that as well. So just to get used to switching strings too, I'd recommend literally just using these first 4 notes of the pentatonic scale. And see if you can get really, 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 really comfortable with that. And notice how the pick motion is just going to start to very gradually creep downwards as we change strings. It's hard to see on a video. It's just kind of something you have to feel. It's gradually moving down. Again, the cool thing about this is that we don't have to be super precise with our pick. So in a way, it actually helps us to play faster when you get really used to it. So now we're just going to do the exact same thing on the next string. So now, you got to watch out. There, I actually hit the open E string accidentally because I was a little too sloppy with my pick. So again, if I'm playing really fast though, it doesn't really matter. Again, like I said before, it's supposed to sound kind of gritty and dirty, so don't overly obsess with it. But if you're having some issues, it's probably just because your motion is still a little too wide. Now I tighten up the motion a little bit, so I'm only hitting the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. And I was fine. Also, one other thing I want to talk about, it's not so much a critical part of this technique, but the right hand can help as well. So once I get over to those strings, if I find that I'm having a little bit of issues with that, I'll use my right hand to actually touch the 6th string. And now, even if I hit that string, you're just gonna hear like a palm muted 6th string. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Next string. And then now we're just doing all the same things that we've done before. So now here I'm strumming basically the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. Again, my first finger is muting the 3rd and 1st strings here because I'm on the 2nd string. Now, here's one little tricky part. Once we get to the top string, the 1st string, we kind of have to tighten up our motion a little bit. There's a couple different ways that we can approach it, but tightening up the motion, I think, is the easiest way. So I want to try only to hit the 2nd and 1st strings at this point. Why? Because I can't really use this finger to play that note and mute the 2nd and the 3rd strings. So I can't really be doing this because then I'm gonna get that open G string, okay? So you can do that, or you can also, again, use the right hand to assist you a little bit. The only caveat with that is you need to make sure the right hand doesn't accidentally end up muting the string that you want it to, that you wanted to play like this, okay? So try really slowly now, going all the way up the pentatonic scale and then back down. And then see if you can go faster and faster. And then see if you can do it with the other pentatonic positions as well. So like if I go to the 2nd pentatonic position, now here, I'm kind of, since I'm starting with the 2nd finger, I want to address that really quick, and then we're going to go over some riffs. Starting with the 2nd finger, you're still using the 1st finger to help you back there, okay? So like right now, the 2nd finger is kind of muted, but I also have this one back here is helping support. Also, these are exactly the same, like what we did before, the 1st finger 4th, 1st finger 4th, 1st finger 3rd. Now, what if I want to use the 2nd and 4th again? Actually, this is kind of nice because now I can just leave this finger here the whole time. See how my 1st finger didn't budge anywhere? So in a way, it makes it easier to play notes on the 1st string if I'm not using my 1st finger. Because then I can use the 1st finger to mute the 2nd and the 3rd string while I'm playing the 1st string, okay? So something to keep in mind. That's one of the more tricky things with this technique is using the 1st finger on the 1st string and getting that muted sound, okay? So that's the basics of the technique. Now, we'll just go over a couple of riffs and then we'll wrap up here. So one riff that I really like to play using this technique is the riff Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin. So that riff is really cool because, well, when I was a kid, I didn't really realize like that you had to use this technique to play it. And I would just play it like this. And as you can see, it doesn't hit the same. It does not hit the same if you just pick the notes, right? It sounds so much grittier and has a way better attitude when you actually use this percussive single note picking technique here. So you're just going to start it. It's actually mostly an A minor pentatonic, A minor blues. You start off with playing this G on the 3rd fret and bend it up a little bit. Give it a little like quarter step bend. And then you're just going to go actually up a lot of the A minor pentatonic scale. So the 1st note, the 2nd note, the 3rd note, and then you're going to do the blues scale, which is putting this note here, the flat 5, which is on the 6th fret of the 5th string. And you're going to go up, down, up. And you're going to go back down to that G there. So down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, later the whole thing basically just gets moved up a whole step. So that's a good riff to get started with this technique as well, and just have some fun playing through it. And then the last riff I'll show you is the song Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers. Deceptively a difficult riff, and it actually, again, this riff actually makes a lot of right-hand stuff easier. Like when I was playing that Heartbreaker riff with just trying to hit one string at a time, it actually felt a lot less comfortable on my right hand. It felt like I had to be more precise, and it doesn't sound as good. So this riff goes like this. And you just kind of repeat that over and over again. I remember when I was a kid and I learned this, I would just play it normal picking notes, and it was like really hard. All this string skipping, I have to like know where my pick is the whole entire time, and I go, and as you can see, it doesn't sound anywhere near as good like that either. And it's actually harder to play with the right hands. I want to caveat that, okay? It is a bit harder to play with the left hand until you get used to this technique, but that's why I'm showing this to you. So we're going to start on the 7th fret of the 5th string, this E, and now I want you to try to use the same fingering I'm using. I feel like this is the easiest way to play it. So I'm going to use the 2nd finger to grab the 7th fret of the 3rd string, skipping a string. So... and then I'm going to use the pinky to get the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So I'm going to go down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, up. So down, up, down, down, up, down, up. And so I'm flattening out the fingers. So when I'm hitting this note, I'm getting that nice muted sound. And then a lot of this here is actually still muted by the 1st finger, but I'm pushing this one down to fret the note, and then the 2nd finger is muting, just in case I hit it, it's muting the 2nd string. And then again, most of it's being muted by the 1st finger, guys. The 1st finger is doing most of the work with this technique, so... and all the riff, those 2 notes are going to keep coming back over and over. So we're going to go down to the 5th fret of the 5th string now, and we're going to go down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, up. So we have this down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down. Now I'm going to go down to the 7th fret of the 6th string, and I'm going to play that with my 2nd finger, and later I'm going to reach under with my 1st finger. It makes the transition easiest, in my opinion. So here I'm hitting these, and the 1st finger is muting the 4th string, and my 2nd finger is muting the 5th string, just in case I hit it. And it's, of course, also muting the 6th string because I'm going to stop pressing down. Make sure you're not holding multiple notes down when you play this. And then we're just going to move the 2nd finger up a half step to the 8th fret. So that, I know that feels weird at first to do this, but then once we move to the next chord or the next section of the riff, it makes sense why I'm using the 2nd finger to play that, okay? So really quickly, one more time. Everybody, so I hope that you enjoyed that video. I hope that you learned a new technique, and good luck on getting this to get really comfortable under your left hand. If you want to learn how to master the guitar fretboard and you want to learn how to be able to play in every single key every single possible area on the entire guitar fretboard with no problem whatsoever and feel like a total master flying around the entire neck, then make sure you head on over to jamsville.com and pick up the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. Also, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one, and until next time, listen, learn, and jam.